Tonight I wanted to talk about why some meditation practices are good and they feel good, and sometimes they don't. It's like a struggle. It happens to everybody. It is something that happens a lot and is very noticeable at the very beginning of our practice. And I have to say this right off the bat, that usually you can be very thankful of the bad, rotten, horrible, terrible meditations, because these are the ones that provide the most answers for us. These are the what we could look at as a bad meditation are actually the best meditations, because they show us the most. They show us what is happening. And what I mean by that is that meditation is really a reflection of our day. It's a reflection of our life. It's a reflection of everything that has happened up until this pinnacle point. And why I'm doing this is because I look at meditation like a funnel. And if you can imagine, this is a funnel. This is a big funnel. My head's in the middle of it right now, but a funnel, collecting everything that has happened in the past up until this moment. Every thought, every action, every deed, every state, every feeling within the body, and all of it, emotions, feelings, all of this stuff comes into this funnel, and at the bottom of this funnel is our meditation practice. And it's the meditation that we're practicing in the moment, in the present moment. And the reason I use this as an example is because all of these things come in, and in meditation, the idea is actually to become sensitive to all of these things that are happening. All these things that have happened through our entire life that come in this funnel. And the reason I say it's a funnel, because our life up to this point is huge, seemingly huge. It's a lot of experiences, a lot of things have happened, and a lot of things to look back on, and they come into this funnel, like I'm saying, and we are experiencing all of these things in such a way that, as I mentioned, that we become sensitive to them. It is like our life amplified, our experiences amplified, because in meditation we have this experience and this opportunity to look at these things, but we're not trying to do it in such a way that we intentionally want to look at all these fine little thoughts and all these things that came up. We want to be open for these things to blossom, should we say, for these things to come up on their own as in the form of insight. If they aren't important enough to come up when we're sitting in meditation, it's just not meant to be. So we sit in meditation, we become sensitive to these things. Something arises, maybe something's triggered. A thought can trigger another thought. Something comes by in our scenery, like a image or a visual item, and it triggers something. We think of something from the past, but we don't want to be hanging on to these things. We want to be taking a look at them, and without attachment, just let them go by. And if it's very, very important, if it's something that really needs a serious look, it will let us know, because we will just be hanging on to that a little bit longer, and sometimes too long. We have to learn to let go of these things, because there could be more in that, almost like a story that can come up for us. Now, I have to really put across the idea that the intention is not to be looking at these things. Meditation is not really designed to be a type of self-psychotherapy where we're analyzing and looking at all these different things from the past and how our emotions how our emotions arise because of an image or something like that comes up. It's It's not that kind of practice. The idea is to be open to these things and not to necessarily miss any of it, but not to attach to it. And like I said, if it is something huge, something big that is really requesting our attention, we'll know it. And then we will pay more attention to it. And oftentimes it will be very truly insightful for us. And this is Vipassana that we're talking about. Vipassana is a word that means insight. It's a Pali word that means insight. Insight is the ability to see clearly. It literally means to see clearly. And a lot of times we when people ask what insight is, we just kind of automatically say, well, it's one of those aha moments. But it's a little bit more than that in that it is the absolute truth for us. And it's something that is always beneficial and something that we can learn from. And let me step back a little bit. It's not always just the truth for us, but it is the truth for everyone at the same time. And some of the insights that the Buddha had, he used for his teachings. And most of his teachings came from his insights, of course. Some of the primary ones are the idea of impermanence, that everything is impermanent. A very insightful thing that came up for the Buddha was our suffering, where our suffering came from, and how it's related to impermanence. That how can we find permanent happiness in an impermanent world? And if we realize that, that is part of the whole struggle right there, to not be looking for that form of satisfaction, that form of happiness. And he said that our suffering comes from attachment. And that attachment can be seen in our meditation practice, the way we attach to things, the way we attach to something that happened in the past, the way we attach to an idea about our future, or how we can create, and how we can really control our future or somebody else's future. These are the types of things that are very much easily called attachments for us. And the next step is to be able to recognize that and to let it go, which is a whole nother teaching. Maybe next week. Maybe next week we'll talk about letting go, that type of thing. But when we talk about meditation and having a good meditation or a bad meditation, again, the bad meditations are usually the most beneficial ones for us. But as we meditate, many of you have been meditating for years and years, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that they all kind of smooth out to a certain degree. I mean, if we are very fatigued, from a personal standpoint, when I'm tired, when I'm fatigued, like in the evening, this never happens for me in the morning, but in the evening, if I'm fatigued and I try to meditate, it's not a very good meditation. I can honestly say that it just doesn't seem to work well for me, because I'm so tired that I'm nodding off. And there is the feeling that, I'm getting this meditation in, but it's only really doing maybe 40% of what it could be doing if I had more energy. So meditation really, really needs energy behind it. And so if you have more energy in the morning, by all means, meditate in the morning. Some people have more energy at night. Some people have a lot of energy before they go to bed, and they have actually trouble sleeping. So try meditating at that time, whatever works best for you. Interestingly, I never tell people exactly how long they should be meditating unless they're working with me directly. People in the teacher training program, I tell them that they should be meditating for an hour. And in some cases, an hour in the morning and an hour at night. In other situations, If they're newer, kind of newer to meditation, they're not used to the longer meditation, just isn't working for them. A half hour, sometimes a half hour in the morning and a half hour later on in the day, sometimes in the evening. But the time or the duration of meditation is really up to the individual. Now, why would we have good meditations and bad meditations if we have energy, if we have the same amount of energy at both the good and the bad? It's because of our expectations of what we are going to possibly get out of this meditation practice. And people that have been meditating for longer times, for 10 or more years perhaps, their expectations have not diminished, but kind of leveled out. They know what can happen in a meditation practice, and they know what they're trying to get out of it. And we always call meditation like a goalless journey or a goalless practice. And I agree with that to a certain extent, but there has to be a reason why we meditate. And the reason why most of us meditate is from a very practical standpoint. We could say that, I meditate so that I can become enlightened, so that I can understand the world to the highest degree, and that I can, no longer have, any form of suffering whatsoever, that type of thing. But from a very practical standpoint, we want to be happier beings. We want to be happy in everyday existence. We want to wake up in the morning and be happy. We want to have a very reasonable, happy day and go to bed a happy person. And that's not really too much to ask, is it? I don't think it is. So meditation, people ask, how do I know that my meditation practice is working? And the answer is that we become happier. We become happier people. If you are meditating consistently every day and your life isn't working, you're not becoming happier, it's because of the expectations in your meditation practice. You're pushing too hard. You're trying too hard. You're putting too many demands on yourself. You want your meditation practice to produce something other than just a practical type of happiness. You're looking for some very lofty things. So our expectations of meditation is very important. And it's when we sit down, we want to have the intention to relax. We want to have the intention and know that our mind's going to go into the past, it's going to go in the future. But these places are not necessarily where we want the mind to be at this particular time. We want to be present. We want to be in this presence, this present moment, or this now, this ultimate reality, this stillness. There's so many names for it. It's actually a snapshot or a micro moment of awakening, or what we could call a level of enlightenment, if you will. And it is where there aren't any hindrances. I talked about the hindrances last week, so you can revisit that recording if you like. It's called jhana meditation. And we talk thoroughly about the 5 hindrances. And so if we can come into that presence, the hindrances are not there, or they're very, very much weakened, and which is basically greed, hatred, and delusion. And what's on the other side of greed, hatred, and delusion is happiness. And happiness in what we could say, the present moment. And we get a taste of that in meditation. We come into this present moment. Now, a lot of people might say, well, what was I talking about earlier about, these things that come in to our awareness while we're meditating? Are these aren't these situations with the past and maybe ideas about the future? And yes, they are, but they will show up, and these can trigger insight for us. So there is value in the past and in the future, of course. But it's not a place where we want to hang out in our meditation practice. We want to recognize when we are dwelling in the past or dwelling in the future, and come back. Once that is recognized, our intention is to come back into the present moment. And in there is no struggle. There's no trying. Most of the trying, or I would say all of the trying and all the struggle, all the demands on ourselves, all the expectations, are the past and the future. If we have expectations, we want to become something more in the future. We want to become a better meditator, or we want meditation to do something for us, for our future. And it will, if we do it correctly, if we come into this presence, this present moment. Because what that does is shows us that we don't have to be relying on the past or the future to be happy. We can be happy now. We can be blissfully happy in this presence, in this present moment. The present moment is timeless. There is no time. And what I mean by that is the time aspect of the past and the future. And for us to rest in there for even a few moments is happiness for us. And when we come out of the meditation, we can be very inspired, like, oh yeah, okay, now I got it. Now I understand. That is the present moment. And that's something that I can use. I can even be working and doing things in life. I can be playing with the kids or the dog or the wife or whatever, and still be in that presence where I'm not thrown into the past or worried about the future. And these are, of course, anger and fear and on and on. So in this present moment, there is none of that. There is happiness in daily living. It's possible for us to have this extended happiness in daily living. And it is our meditation practice that shows us that this is what that is. I mean, this is the present moment where our true happiness can be found. This is our true nature, who we really are. We're happy beings. Somebody that's tormented and sad, unhappy, is not in the present moment. We simplify it to a great degree, and we come into the present moment by focusing on something as simple as the breath. How simpler can it be, to focus on something that is with us all the time. We can use it, and it can be boring, and it's something that if we're not focusing on it, it's still working for us, thankfully. But it is really something that brings us and pulls us into this present moment. It becomes very easy for us, so the mind says, okay, I got this figured out. And then what does the mind want to do? Wander off into time. We'll just call it time. So we can catch that and bring our attention back into this timelessness, this presence. And that is our meditation practice. And there's no expectation. There doesn't have to be any expectations in that. If there are, it will not be there's a good chance that it would not be a very good meditation for us. If we say that it's not a good meditation for us, after the meditation, we can ask ourselves, why wasn't it a good meditation? And the answer will be because it is it's a reflection of our day, our hours before meditation. It's a reflection of all the stuff that has been happening for us, throughout the week or the year or maybe even the lifetime, which is an unsteady or unsettled mind. the mind wanting to plan, or the mind wanting to think about what happened, past and future. And it doesn't have to be that way. So if we have a good meditation, check it out. At the end of the meditation, ask yourself, this was, and if was this a good meditation or a bad meditation? Sometimes they'll just be neutral, which means that probably that you've been practicing meditation for a while. But if it's a good meditation, all you have to do is notice that you are very, very present in this stillness of the present moment. But don't fool yourself. Don't say that, oh, this was a great meditation because I wasn't thinking, because that can be fatigue as well. I've seen people literally fall asleep sitting up, and then after their meditation, they say that oh, this was great. Then they remember nothing because they were asleep. I've seen people get very, very good at falling asleep during meditation, actually. Not common, but it does happen. Make yourself comfortable, and this will be just under 30-minute meditation. Gently close the eyes. Bring your attention to the breath. Some of us may use other meditation objects, and that's fine. I refer people to the breath whenever I'm referring to a meditation object. Sometimes people will use sounds, sometimes mantras or words. So whatever you're using, just use that with the intention to become very present. So we're not struggling or trying to become present, we're allowing it to happen. We're conditioning the mind, conditioning the awareness. And the mind is a very useful tool, and it's had its way for many, many years, going and working in the area of time, the past and the future. And now we're giving ourselves permission to rest. We're stopping the flow of thoughts, not intentionally, but just allowing. We're stopping the mind from thinking about what happened today. just allowing the mind to settle. We're giving ourselves permission to be very, very easy on ourselves. Mental vacation. And if the mind somehow says that by not visiting the past or the future, you're wasting your time, don't listen to it, because it's very, very beneficial to be in the presence, in this present moment. It's not a place to intentionally go to. It's not a place that you can even create. You can be aware of it, but it's always there. And from the true aspect of time, it's the only moment we truly have. So we might notice the mind wandering off. And gently bring it back. And remind ourselves to have no expectations about this meditation. To fully accept everything that is happening at this moment. Whether it's physical or mental. Just allow let go of anything that the mind wishes to attach to and rest in the presence. A couple minutes left. Bring your attention to the breath. Keep it steady. Bring your hands together in front of your heart, if you like. A short metta practice. May each of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. And may we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face in life. Thank you. Very good. Let's take a moment and ask yourself how that meditation was for you. That's the whole idea behind what I was talking about. Whether this is a good meditation or not so good meditation, and then why. So if we feel like it was a good meditation, hopefully that points to the idea that it was a great deal of presence involved and very few hindrances. The hindrances, again, are desire, anger or ill will, restlessness and worry, sloth and torpor, or drowsiness. Could be a mental or even a physical drowsiness. And fatigue, like a mental or mental fatigue, but also the doubt in our practice, doubt in the teachings, and doubt in our ability, that kind of thing. So those are the 5 hindrances. And if those are present in the meditation, it could be considered or feel as if it's not a very good meditation. But primarily, if it's not a good meditation, it just means we have too many expectations, which means that it has a lot to teach us. If it was good, very few hindrances, like I said, very, very, very much presence, a lot of presence involved, present moment awareness. And so we can ask ourselves, how was it? How does it feel? A lot of times I encourage people to spend about 5 minutes after the meditation and just kind of review what happened. And sometimes those can be the most beneficial moments of the meditation, even more beneficial than the meditation itself in many cases, because of that inquiry that we're doing. And a lot of people will journal after their meditation. That's a good idea, to first journal what comes up in the meditation, and then maybe journal about their other things that they feel that the meditation might have produced for them, maybe some insights, that kind of thing. And some people journal before the meditation to kind of download. I haven't been doing that as much as I used to, but there was a time where I really felt that I had to, it was seemingly very important for me to be able to download and get things off my mind, things that I was going to be doing, throughout the day, so that they wouldn't come up in meditation. Mostly, kind of future-based things, planning, that type of thing. So journaling before meditation can be beneficial as well. Continue meditating and check out why some meditations are good, why meditations, some of them don't feel so good, and they're all beneficial. Believe me, they're all good for you. It's just our concept and our recognition of good or bad, which isn't always that important, but sometimes these questions come up. So thank you. Have a good evening, and we'll touch base next week. Thank you.